Well, this is Dr. Stan back here at Radio Liberty, coming to you from the hills overlooking beautiful and picturesque Monterey Bay, and bringing you the news behind the news, the story behind the story, hoping to convince you that reality is usually scoffed at, that illusion is usually king. But in the battle for survival of Western civilization, it's going to be reality, not illusion or delusion, that will determine what the future will bring. And I need to remind you the views that are expressed here are not necessarily those of the owners, management, staff, sponsors, or supporters of the station you're listening to. They happen to be my views, and well, for the next hour, they're going to be the views of our good friend Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster, and we're going to be telling you about what is really going on financially behind the scenes, because most people really cannot believe the skullduggery that's taking place as a small group of people have set out to destroy our economy, to impoverish our people, to transfer our wealth overseas, and to destroy what was once the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you say, why would rational people want to transfer our jobs overseas? Why would rational people want to do away with tariffs so that other companies would go overseas and then be able to produce overseas and bring the products back here? And why would, for instance, we, give General Motors $50 billion so they could open up new plants in China and India, or give away Chrysler to Fiat so they could open plants in Italy and certainly in Mexico, or justify the loans, guarantee the loans for power plants in Georgia, where, of course, the containment vessels are going to be built over in China and Japan rather than here in the United States. And why would our leaders be pushing the cap and trade legislation that is, of course, going to basically drive up the price of electricity and force even more of our manufacturers to leave? And why would we be pushing certainly the health insurance, which is going to drive more of our industries out of this country to other countries where they don't have to, by law, provide health care insurance? Why would any rational people do that? And the answer is very simple. We're not dealing with rational people. And the fact that most people have no idea what's going on, they don't understand there is a plan to destroy our economy. Until you understand that plan, nothing makes sense. Once you understand it, everything makes sense, doesn't it, Bob?
It certainly does. And I don't know how people can miss it. Especially people who are professionals. They give you all kinds of other excuses. It's charts and waves and all things that are obliquely involved. When the real mission is for the befuddlement of people, so that they don't know what's going on, because of what one might call a conspiracy of silence by those who do understand that there's something going on.
Well, it was so interesting. We did a book review recently, an interview with a fellow named Ian Fletcher, wrote a book called Free Trade Doesn't Work, and he just put down all the reasons why free trade doesn't work. But he said that 93% of economists, 93% of the economists think that free trade is wonderful. It's going to create more jobs at home here. I mean, we get rid of the old jobs. We just get all sorts of new, good-paying jobs. And I don't think these are all bad people. It's just that everybody else says it's true. Need to describe one fellow named Alan Blinder, who suddenly said, hey, we're going to lose 40 million jobs and then new jobs to replace them. I never thought of that. And I remember when I first saw that reference, I thought, now there's a blinder man than any other I've ever known. His name was Alan Blinder. We'll be right back here in just a moment. Will you go right ahead, Bob?
Well, I know of that book that you speak of, and in fact, I talked to him today, Fletcher.
Right. He's a very nice man. I really enjoyed having him on our programs.
Yeah, I didn't. I hadn't heard of him before. He got in touch with me. I'm going to recommend his book in the next issue, because anything that's against free trade, I'm for, and I think most of my readers are. After seeing the results of what free trade has done to America, but not only America, but Western Europe as well, but not quite as bad, because they haven't as openly embraced it as the U.S. government and people behind the government have. But I think it's the last cog in the destruction machinery that was planted back in the 60s to take down the American economy. And I wrote about it in 1967. Everybody thought I was insane. And, of course, look what's happened.
Well, and, but it is insane, Bob. It doesn't make any sense. It couldn't be going on. The only trouble is it is going on. If you're going to recommend the book, why, we'll go ahead and carry it. I've been meaning to, because I was really so impressed with the book. In fact, when I started, I thought, how could anybody write a whole book on free trade and what's wrong with it? And it was a fascinating book. You really did a great job. I was really very taken with it, and I've been meaning to carry the book. If I know you're going to recommend it, you might mention RadioLiberty.com, and we'll go ahead and order it and carry it.
Okay, well, I'll do that, and you learn something new every day, and I'm very happy you got a hold of me, because that's the kind of thing that opens people's minds up and it allows them to see, in retrospect now, unfortunately, what's been done. We lost 7.5 million jobs in the last 2 years. And we've lost over 15 million jobs over the last 11 years. And I would attribute about 7 million of those jobs out of 15 million were due to free trade and globalization, offshoring.
Hold that thought right there. Well, this is Dr. Stan, because Bob is talking about free trade and globalization, and we've lost about 7 million jobs to free trade and globalization. Those are jobs that aren't coming home. They were never intended to come home, and there are no jobs to replace them. Not enough hamburger flipping jobs out there. But they keep saying, we're going to get all these new and better jobs, and of course, the electronic industry. But the trouble is, we're bringing in people from India to take those jobs, bring them in from China with the H1N1 visas. And so we're taking those jobs away from the American people. We're bringing in the illegal aliens. That's why we haven't, of course, built the fence, why we're subsidizing them, why they will not enforce the laws of this country against illegal aliens, because they want to give them our jobs. As Bob was saying, we've lost about 15 million jobs over the last 6 or 8 years, and we're going to lose more and more and more until one day the American people are going to wake up and find themselves impoverished in their own land. Go ahead.
As an adjunct to that, for those of you who don't know, these transnational conglomerates, which are all controlled by the Brotherhood of Darkness, they make their profits, and their profits go into corporations in places like the Cayman Islands. And it was about 4.5 years ago that, under the aegis of creating jobs in America, they were allowed to bring back $350 billion and pay taxes on it. But the sweetheart deal was that they didn't pay 35% federal corporate taxes. They paid 5.25%. And this is the sort of stranglehold that these people have on Congress. And this is why we have to unseat these them out of there because they're all bought and paid for.
And the other thing is, they supposedly got to get this special tax break so they'd come home and invest it and make more jobs here. Well, they brought the money home and they got the tax break, but they didn't invest it in jobs. They just, I don't know what they did with it, but they certainly didn't expand industry here or make jobs here. So they had the best of both worlds, and all shucks. They say, well, they knew they were supposed to invest it here. That's why we gave the tax break. And look, they did not do that. Why? Isn't that terrible?